Republicans are divided on the Shiloh Hendrix fiasco, so today we're breaking down both sides. Guys, I didn't want to throw myself into this one because it seems so obvious to me what the correct outcome should be for the N-word lady. It just doesn't seem that complicated or that controversial to me, but conservatives right now are totally divided on it. So before I show you the two kind of separate sides of the argument and give my opinion, in case you haven't seen the video yet, here is the video of Shiloh Hendrix being accused of calling a 5-year-old the N-word in a park. And as always, guys, please like the video and subscribe so I can afford a hair transplant. Here we go.
You call him a child? Did you call the child the word? It is my own business. You call him a Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again? Okay. All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's you dumb.
Nobody digging into your
A little kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna...
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call a child, 5-year-old, and the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a
Huh. Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
Okay, so basically in that video, there's that man who was accusing her of calling a 5-year-old the N-word, and then she says it again in the video. And then this man, what happened after? He filmed it and then he doxed her, meaning that her personal info is now out there. He put out her address. She says her social security number. I don't know how he got a hold of that, so I don't know how true that one is. She talked about, where her kids go to school, where she works out, etc. And then what she did was she started a fundraiser online to essentially make enough money to move her family since she was doxxed, because people know where she lives now. She's getting death threats, etc. As of now, I just checked, she has raised $708,000 on a GoFundMe-like website. It's basically like that. It's not GoFundMe, though. And this has divided conservatives into two camps, essentially. And these are the camps. The camp that is glad that she made all that money, and that's like where Matt Walsh, for instance, he's on that side. And then the camp that thinks it's all kind of stupid, that people shouldn't be raising money for a girl who called someone the N-word. And that's the side that Ben Shapiro, for example, is on. And you can kind of imagine the other conservatives who would be on either side just based on maybe what they've said specifically about this, but other things as well. The argument from the first camp is this. This is kind of how they break it down. Black people love saying the N-word, so I don't know why they'd be that offended by that. And doxing someone is illegal, clearly. And so it's great that she's getting the money. So that's kind of the argument. It's also great. They say this is a big part of it. Because as you'll recall, just a few weeks ago, there was a young black kid named Carmelo Anthony, not the basketball player. He stabbed a white kid and got $500,000 through the same website to relocate as well, because he was getting death threats. And they said it wasn't safe for him to stay there because he was able to somehow, even though he murdered someone, post bail and get out of jail while there's the ongoing trial. So conservatives are basically saying this is a double standard and that they're happy that this girl can do it too, since Carmelo Anthony has done it. The other side, though, is the side that I find myself on more, which is that a double standard only works if you denounce the action in the first place. In other words, guys, it's a double standard when liberals cheer the Carmelo Anthony thing, which they totally did, which is crazy, but not if they cheer for Shiloh Hendrix's. That is a double standard, of course, but only, again, if you admit that that's wrong. You have to admit just out of the gate that raising money when you've done some racially bad thing is wrong. So if you think it's okay for Shiloh Hendrix, then again, you're no better than the liberals, because they believe the same thing, but in reverse. They think, oh, well, it's a double standard because we can do it and you can't. That's not a double standard. That's whataboutism. Not only that, though, you completely buy into moral relativism at that point if you're in the first camp. And I don't think a lot of those conservatives have really thought this through, because what you're saying is that it is okay that a conservative did it because of the fact that a liberal did it. That's the whole argument behind what they're saying, is they did this, so that now means it's okay for us to do this. And that means the whole morality of an action focuses on someone else. Like, it's not about it's right or it's wrong. There's no truth to it. The truth is dictated by what the other side does. And I'm sorry, guys, that's just blasphemy. blasphemy, whether you're religious or you believe in philosophy or whatever. It's illogical. It doesn't make any sense. You're simply just saying morality is whatever the other side dictates it to be. So conservatives have to cut it out because there's nothing conservative about that. Don't donate to this lady. It's just not a good idea, because what happened here was very controversial to some conservatives, but it really is not controversial. What happened, and it's allowed conservatives to stoop to the liberals' level, which is a huge mistake. But what happened, that's not really controversial in my opinion, is that a black kid was probably rifling through this woman's purse. I don't think she just randomly called him an N-word. I think he did that. By the way, he was 5, according to the man who shot that video. She called him the N-word, and everyone should have walked away. That's my controversial opinion. She shouldn't have done that. Everyone should have just walked away. She should have been like, hey, get your hand out of my purse. Called his parents, been like, this is what he was doing. He's 5. I know he probably just made a mistake, but not cool. She should not have engaged with the man who approached her then, and he shouldn't have doxed her, because, like I said, doxing is someone that's been illegal since, I think, 2016. And it's not more complicated than that. Don't dox people, that's illegal. Don't call people the N-word. I don't know how it's more complicated than that. Just to show you how simple it is, though, here is the listing on her website for the GoFundMe. You can see it right here. It says, help me protect my family. She says, hello, my name is Shiloh, and I've been put into a very dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at the park. I called the kid out for what he was. Notice she doesn't say the word in there, and I think that's telling. Like, did you call him a thief? Because he would be a thief. If you call him an N-word, I think you're ashamed of that because you didn't put that in your message. I'm guessing that's not a very persuasive message. Otherwise, you would have said it. Then she says, another man who we recently found out had a history with law enforcement proceeded to record me. There's an allegation, for people who are wondering about that. There's an allegation that this guy is a sex offender. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's the allegation. She said, proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos online, which have caused my family, myself, great turmoil. My social security number has been leaked. Again, I don't know how that's possible, but I'll take her at her word. My address and phone number have been given out freely. My family members are being attacked. My eldest son or child may not be going back to school, even where I exercise has been exposed. I'm asking for your help to assist in protecting my family. I fear that we must relocate. I have 2 small children who do not deserve this. We've been threatened to the extreme by people online. Anything will help. We cannot and will not live in fear. So again, on the other side, that's clearly wrong. I don't even know how that's remotely controversial. Death threats are wrong. Doxing people is wrong. But at the same time, what's interesting is she does not need $708,000 to relocate. No one needs I'm assuming she's gonna sell her house. Why does she need $708,000 to relocate? It just seems like a money grab at this point. And saying racial slurs to a 5-year-old is a garbage, degenerate behavior. Conservatives should not be defending it. They should not be celebrating it just because the left did something similar. Why would you want to be anything like the left? That's the weirdest thing to me. And people like Matt Walsh, love Matt Walsh, by the way, love 99% of everything he does. This is just the one thing I disagree with him on. I don't think he's really thought it through. It's not conservative at all. You can talk all you want about how people shouldn't dox her. I'm totally fine. I'm on board with that. But again, why is a grown woman calling a 5-year-old the N-word? It's incredibly weird behavior. And I think conservatives should stop stooping to liberal level. If we do, again, we're no better than them in the first place. And we devolve into a stupor of moral relativism like I talked about. And that's exactly what the communists want. Hey guys, I'm excited to announce that I am rolling out my new Substack right now. If you didn't know, Substack is basically a newsletter that allows me to send out the daily news to you guys as well as my opinion and political commentary on top of it. It just comes to your email. It's completely free to subscribe. You can cancel anytime. And in addition to the news and commentary stuff, I'll also be showing all my subscribers kind of the behind the scenes inner workings of the show, as well as having direct chat with you guys so we can bounce political ideas off each other and interact directly. So you can join right now, guys, with the link in the description below. Democrats have actually started to defend Trump on the impeachment articles that just got filed against him, as we talked about a little bit on the show last week. An Indian congressman, his name is Shri, I should say, filed fraudulent impeachment articles essentially about Donald Trump. Nothing about them is legit at all. And all the Democrats were on board. But upon finding out what was actually in them, some Democrats decided they did not want to be a part of them after all. And this is according to The Hill. This is really important. They say these are the reps that did it. Reps Kwesi Mfume, that's from Minnesota, Robin Kelly and Jerry Nadler, had signed on as co-sponsors of Rep. Shri Thanadar's impeachment resolution, which includes 7 articles of impeachment. But Tuesday afternoon, they went to the House floor and asked for their names to be taken off the legislation. The House clerk granted their request. And they say the reason right here. This is according to The Hill again. Spokespeople for Kelly and Mafume said the lawmakers initially signed on to the effort because they assumed it had been reviewed by leadership. When they learned it was not, they asked for their names to be removed. So basically, guys, they just went along with it at first because they thought it was legit. They were like, yeah, we don't like Trump. But then they saw the articles and they were like, oh, crap. There's nothing in this, and we don't want to be tied to this at all. And here's what's really fascinating about this. I did some research. These specific congressmen, if you look at them, they're from New York, they're from Maryland, and Illinois. Again, incredibly liberal places. And if you look at their actual districts, they are incredibly liberal. These are not the purple districts in those states. One of those people, for instance, won their election by 85%. So these are like the most blue of the most blue. And they did not want to be part of the articles of impeachment. And it just shows how truly bad they are. Because if they were like a normal person, if they were a normal purple congressman, they have to buddy up with Trump a little bit, right? Because you need MAGA voters and the Democrat voters. You have to be in the middle a little bit. So it'd make a lot of sense for them to do something like this. But they're not like that. They don't need any Trump voters in order to win. They just know that the articles of impeachment are so famously bad that they don't want to be anywhere near them. They do not want history to show that they were a part of them. And this is something I predicted when I was talking about the articles of impeachment last week. So this is the big question. What are in these awful articles of impeachment? These are the 7. I'm going to break them down for you. We're going to talk about each one, talk about why they're so ridiculous. So without further ado, the first one is this. It says obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power, including denial of due process, unlawful deportations, defiance of court orders, and misuse of the Department of Justice. The problem with this is this would generally be a civil offense. This is in relation to Abrego Garcia, right? The person Trump deported could sue the administration. Abrego Garcia could theoretically do that. But this isn't high crimes and misdemeanors like Hamilton wrote about in the Federalist Papers. That's what you need in order to impeach someone. High crimes, misdemeanors, treasonous behavior, bribery, things like that. And Shri says in this that he disobeyed the Supreme Court. That is false. That is not what Donald Trump did. The Supreme Court did not say that he could not deport Abrego Garcia, which is what Shri is saying in this. What they decided is that they ruled that a district court below them had jurisdiction on deciding the case in general. So again, already straight up lying in the first article, but it gets even more ridiculous. The second one says usurpation of appropriations power for dismantling congressionally established agencies and impounding federal funds. So this is, of course, referring to Doge. And I have a hard time believing that this constitutes a high crime or misdemeanor. He's saying that because Doge is trying to cut abuse and fraud, that's somehow a high crime against the United States. What's really crazy about this is how open Democrats are about trying to protect the deep state, because it's essentially what Shri is doing here, is saying, awful what Doge is doing. They're going after the bureaucrats. And again, it's particularly stunning when we talk about elections because people overwhelmingly support Doge as well. Shri thinks one of the biggest reasons a president for some reason should be impeached is for trying to dismantle unconstitutional bureaucracies and limit the scope of government. That is what he says in that. So it's very clear that the other Democrats don't want to be anywhere near that. I don't blame them. The third one, abuse of trade powers and international aggression, including imposing economically damaging tariffs and threatening military invasion against sovereign nations. Here's the deal. This one is the most legit in terms of something he can't do that's unconstitutional. The tariffs are unconstitutional. I know a lot of people disagree with that. That's just a hard truth. Congress has to do that. Only Congress can levy tariffs. That's very clear. But again, that's not a high crime and misdemeanor. That is something that the Supreme Court would simply decide. They would, in essence, sue the Trump administration, and then the Trump administration would be forced to recede the tariffs, and then Congress could then decide. It's not impeachable. So good luck with that one. There's just no evidence Trump is jailing people for, trying to I'm just trying to think of an example of how the tariffs would even be a crime in the first place. Trump is just not doing that. The fourth one says violation of First Amendment rights through retaliatory actions against critics, media, and attorneys exercising constitutionally protected speech. Again, good luck. Like Trump says there's fake news. That's not him trying to take away their First Amendment rights. There's no evidence Trump is jailing people for saying something he doesn't like. He's never done that. And ironically, this is what's so interesting about that impeachment article, is that Sri doesn't like what Trump is saying about the media, so he wants Trump to be censored through impeachment. Seems a little hypocritical. It's ironic. He's saying that Trump is violating the First Amendment while Sri is trying to do that exact thing. Number 5, creation of an unlawful office by establishing Doge and unlawfully empowering Elon Musk. Again, not impeachable. There's just nothing there. It's not a high crime misdemeanor. Again, you can sue him if you want, I guess. I don't think that would go anywhere, but it's not impeachable. Number 6, bribery and corruption involving dismissing criminal cases, soliciting foreign emoluments, and extortionate settlements for personal and political gain. This one is the only one in the whole thing that would be impeachable. Because specifically, I think it's Federalist Paper 62 or something like that, is where Hamilton talks about how you can impeach someone. That bribery is one of them. Bribery and corruption is one that's impeachable. The problem is that Sri doesn't provide any evidence for it. He just says it, which isn't enough to impeach someone. Finally, number 7 is tyrannical overreach, seeking to consolidate unchecked power, erode civil liberties, and defy constitutional limits on presidential authority. And again, absurd to me. This one is absurd and frankly offensive because Trump, his whole shtick is he's trying to do the exact opposite of what Sri just said. The reason we have these 3-letter agencies is because people in Congress like Sri don't want to be held accountable. Because what they did is they made bureaucracies to handle the jobs that they were originally supposed to handle, and they didn't want them because it made them more accountable. If they did something bad, they wouldn't get elected. And so they said, let's just give it to the bureaucrats that never get elected. Then we don't have to deal with it. We can just stay in power forever. And again, as I've said, it's the complete opposite of what Donald Trump is actually doing here. They're saying it's tyrannical overreach. Trump is actually trying to limit the scope of government. Sri knows that. He just doesn't want to be held accountable. So essentially, as I've said, these impeachment articles, they're dead in the water. Even Democrats, even if they happen to control the House, this would not pass. And I think that those 3 Democrats not wanting to be part of the articles of impeachment are a fantastic evidence of that. Fortunately, though, Democrats don't hold the House right now, and that's probably going to remain the case if they focus on wastes of time like this. If you guys enjoy reading, I wanted to introduce you to my book, A New Cult. It's up over on the shoulder. You can see it on this side. I had a great time writing it. I talk about how the left is literally devolving into a cult. They do some crazy stuff, talk about some crazy stories. I know you'll enjoy reading it. Go check it out. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please like the video and subscribe so other great patriots like yourself can see it in the YouTube overlords. Don't try to hide it. And as always, you can check out another video right here.